Well, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be back in person, like giving talks and education to people in real life, because all of what I do now for the vast majority is virtual coaching and online stuff. I put out a lot of content with the help of Nate, who's back there behind camera one. Nate and I work together, and we have a studio that is just down the road by the county dump, so the San Rafael dump. We're in a warehouse over there. It's a little private space that looks really nice inside, and we film a lot of fitness and education, nutrition content there too, and we distribute that out through the interwebs. So if you guys ever want to check out anything we're doing, you know, we have social media accounts, but we're functionalbodybuilding.com. And my expertise in nutrition, why am I even talking on nutrition here? I know you guys are all doing a nutrition challenge coming up. How many people are participating in that? Everybody? Almost everybody? Awesome. And yeah, so I go all the way back to like 2009. I started coaching in CrossFit gyms in Marin, and I had a background in like molecular science from Berkeley. I studied a lot of nutrition there. So I had like a deep understanding of science of nutrition, but then practical nutrition. I've been doing nutrition coaching and personal nutrition experiments on myself since I was like 13 years old. I'm almost 40 now. So I've got 25 years of nutrition, like practical knowledge and also coaching. But I started giving nutrition talks back in the CrossFit gym days, running all the challenges there, and have been doing that for a long time. And I was just speaking to somebody who was like one of my first clients ever yesterday, and telling her that I was giving this talk, and she's like, "Oh, I loved all the talks that you gave over the years." And I said, "Yeah, I wish I could kind of go back and change a lot of what I taught earlier on, because you know, 15 years later of coaching nutrition, I've learned that people way overcomplicate nutrition. They try and make it seem like there's secrets and there's like magic sauce in, you know, different dietary approaches. And what I've come to realize is that now, more than ever, it's not about secrets, it's about really simple facts about how nutrition works. And the simple facts doesn't make the implementation easy, but it's like, let's not overcomplicate nutrition. Let's make it as simple as it needs to be so that you can go out and make real practical change that impacts you positively. So I won't be probably talking about the Krebs cycle or like glucose metabolism too much, and I won't be getting into the physiology of your gut-brain barrier and connections and all that, which I have talked about in the past, but it's probably not that helpful to you today. And I want this to be mainly a Q&A, but I did get some of the questions that you all sent in ahead of time, and then I based a few slides off of that. So I'm going to jump into them. At any point, you're welcome to stop me and just pause and ask a question. I think there's really no dumb questions in the world of nutrition, because people make it seem like there's really complicated stuff out there, and it can get overwhelming. And sometimes you just need to ask the basic, simple question like, what is protein? You know, let's keep it real here. There's no question I won't be able to kind of hopefully bring down to a level that we can all explain. And then the last thing I was going to comment on is that my audience that I coach and on in our business is almost 85% men. So this is really awesome to have such a great full room full of women and some men. But yeah, it's like, this is great. I don't get this kind of attention on the internet. Look good, move well is our tagline for functional bodybuilding, and it was kind of born out of this idea that because I came from a CrossFit background of training, where like performance was such you know, an important thing for people. People were like always chasing PRs and trying to push their athleticism. I saw a group of people get really frustrated because they weren't seeing the same changes in their body that they were after. You know, a lot of people come into the gym. The number one reason is I want to have some change to my body. I want to look more fit, or I want to lose weight. I want to feel better. I want to get stronger. These are all things that are there. But we recognize that, like, if we just focus on fitness and we don't talk about the other thing, nutrition that actually helps people, change and transform their bodies, health and aesthetically, then they get frustrated and they leave and they say, well, what's the thing that's going to help me get that change that I'm looking for too? So we value both good performance and then all the things that support, training to change your body and live the life that you really want to live. All right, I thought we'd start off with this basic concept, which is fat loss versus weight loss. Anybody in here interested in losing some weight? Okay, and if I said, you're like, cool, I want to lose 10 pounds. If I said, okay, I'm going to come and take 10 pounds of muscle, and you guys are going to be 10 pounds lighter, are you happy with that? No. Nobody's happy with that. Nobody wants to lose weight, they want to lose body fat, okay? Because weight and, muscle mass, lean mass, is the most important thing that you want to hold on to for the rest of your life. It is the single biggest predictor of longevity and health. And so the moment you adopt a fitness and nutrition strategy that has you losing muscle, it's a bad situation for you. And so we're focusing on losing fat mass, and those are really the things that we talk about in our nutritional coaching strategies, is what are the things that are going to help you lose fat and retain muscle. That second bullet point, if you keep more lean muscle, that's what's going to give you the look that you want, the toned, long and lean look, or the muscular physique. They're the same thing. It's just one is said by this group and one is said by this group, but you want to have less body fat and more muscle on your frame, and that's going to give shape to your body. But it also is the biggest contributor to your metabolism. And metabolism is something that everybody has heard. My metabolism is slow, my metabolism is fast. And when we talk about basal metabolism and the metabolism or the energy expenditure of your body when you're sitting down here in the chair all day, the biggest impact on that number is your muscle mass. So if you have more muscle mass than me, you're going to just burn more calories when you sit down. So you don't want to lose muscle mass. You want to gain as much as you can. And people that are concerned about putting on too much muscle, anybody on anabolics in here? No, I'm not going to go that way. But if you're not training like 20 hours a week and on lots of supplementation, nobody here is at risk of putting on too much muscle. And if you are, and you have some secret that I need to know about, because I want to put on lots of muscle, and I train lots, and I eat lots, and I do everything I can, and a pound a year is kind of a lot for me. So anyway, moving on. There are 3 rules to losing fat. You must be in a calorie deficit. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but you need to be consuming less energy than you're expending. So I'm burning a lot, consuming a little, or I'm burning a little bit more than I'm consuming. It doesn't matter how big that deficit is, you need to be in a deficit. And in order to maintain the muscle that you're eating, you need to focus on getting an adequate amount of protein. We're going to cover what that is today because that was a common question. But calorie deficit, eat protein, and be consistent over long periods of time. Don't get frustrated after a week when the scale doesn't change in your favor. Don't get frustrated after 2 months when the scale starts to plateau for a week and you're like, what the hell? Everything was working and now it's not. This doesn't work anymore. I got to change what I'm doing. That's not consistency. So those are the 3 things that you need. Calorie deficit, protein, consistency. And I could stop the whole conversation right there. And then you could ask me questions like, well, what about this diet? I'd be like, well, did it put you in a calorie deficit? Was there an adequate amount of protein there? And could you do it for a year, 2 years, 3 years? And if you can't answer yes to all 3 of those questions, I would recommend not doing it. Unless you know, hey, this is going to be a 1-month thing that I'm going to do really hard and I'm going to lose some weight and then it's going to come right back on. If you're cool with that, fine. But if you don't want that, then don't move forward with anything unless those 3 questions or those 3 things have a yes behind them. Pausing for really dramatic effect here. This is key. If you don't walk away with anything else tonight, that is it, okay? Screenshot that. So this is what fat loss really looks like, okay? You expect it to do this, but in reality it does that. This is what real world fat loss looks like on the scale. This is your body weight, okay? It's gonna look like a really awful set of teeth, like shark teeth that have just, okay? If you're losing fat, it will go in that direction. If you're bouncing around like this and it's flatlining, what's wrong? You're not in a calorie deficit. If it's bouncing around and going up, you're in a calorie surplus over time, okay? Some people are aiming for that. Hey, I want to gain muscle. It's not going to look like a straight line up. It's going to look like a jagged line going up. So it's a game of averages, and that's another key takeaway. And I read through a little bit of how your nutrition challenge is structured, but I am a big proponent of weighing yourself every day when you're on a fat loss or a muscle mass, gaining journey. Okay, maybe less frequently when you're in maintenance mode, but when you have a goal going somewhere with body weight, it's important to take daily measurements because you need to start to understand and normalize what that looks like. You will wake up today at 150 pounds. Tomorrow, even in a calorie deficit, you will be at 151 pounds. The next day, you'll be at 149.8. The next day, you'll be at 149.2. The next day, you'll be right back up at 150. And it will go like that. And if you took weight on Monday, and then you took your weight next Monday, and this day was the 148.2, and this day was the 151, you would be like, fuck. I just gained 2 pounds in a week, and I've been killing myself in the gym, and I've been eating all the right stuff, and screw this, I'm out. And so you go back to that last slide, and what happened? You didn't wait long enough, you weren't consistent enough to really learn. You might be in a calorie deficit, and that is just normal, right? Because if you looked at all the other days, they were like trending down, but you had like a little extra salt on your meal or something, and then like overnight, you just held on to more water and you woke up the next day. Or maybe you got a little constipated and you woke up the next day and you're just full of shit. And you're heavier that day. And you're like, damn it. But you didn't take enough data points along the way to see that you're actually making progress. You looked at the wrong data point, you got frustrated, you said F it, you went off the diet for 3 days, you ate a bunch of stuff that you just knew wasn't good for you, but it was just like helping you to cope, and then you're like, I'm gonna get back on the train. And you get back on the train, right? Anybody done this before? I mean, shit, I've done this. So, understanding what reality looks like versus expectations. I have hundreds of these charts of people who have actually decided to track this stuff and really committed to it, and that's how they learn. They learn what works and what doesn't work for them, and that what is normal and what's not. Question?
A quick question. You said we should weigh ourselves throughout the whole, every single day. When should I be weighing myself during that day? Should it be after I eat, before I eat, when I wake up, after?
Yeah, wake up, go to the bathroom, weigh yourself. Same time every day. Yeah. Wake up, go pee, wake up, go poo, whatever it is, but just do it the same. Don't make it inconsistent. And I say all these things, and I want you to also understand that I am keenly aware that stepping on that scale is not a completely emotionally disconnected thing for most of you. It's a very emotionally connected thing. Regardless of what phase I might be in, I have emotional reactions when I see numbers on the scale too. And so what helps that, for me and many people, is doing it more often. Not being afraid of it, but using it as data and learning how it actually correlates and relates to what you're doing in life to help move the needle in the direction that you want to go. Oh, that's a number. It's a scary number, and then 6 months later you did it every single day. Okay, that's a number. I've seen 6 months of them. I know what that means. And it's actually been really liberating at times to just be like, yeah, it's not possible for me to gain 2 pounds of fat in one day. I would have to eat 7,000 calories over what I need to just maintain myself, which is this much. So I need to eat this much. I would need to make myself physically sick today. I'd have to actually go and really try to mess this thing up, like intentionally, right? but you can gain 3 pounds of water like that. And you can lose 4 pounds of water just as fast, okay? I'm going slowly through this, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to hit these points hard. Take measurements daily, make decisions weekly, maybe even every other week. And if you're in like a focused fat loss phase, a pound a week, you're killing it. Half a pound a week is good. 2 pounds a week means you're probably starting from a place where you have a lot to lose. You have a lot of fat mass on your body, and even that is very difficult to do and not advised. So 1 pound a week over the course of 90 days, you're looking at 10 pounds, maybe 12. That would be a very, very successful fat loss journey. So in a course of a year, if you had 30 pounds of fat to lose and you lost that much, that is commitment. That is huge. So if you're like, I want to lose 10 pounds this month, you're now looking at losing more than 2.5 pounds or close to 2.5 pounds a week. It's very aggressive. It's very hard. And it's not very sustainable for really anybody. So you go back to those last questions, is like, can you do this consistently for a long time? Not likely. All right, I talked about calories. I talked about energy deficits or calorie deficits, caloric deficit. Is that what I said? That's the word I used. Calories. What are calories? It's like, from here to Whole Foods. How far is that? Quarter mile? Quarter mile, right? So mile, that's a unit of measurement, right? You're like, well, okay. Calorie, that's a unit of measurement. It's just a unit of measurement. You're just saying it's like saying, just like I said, to get geeky, it's like how much energy is required to raise the temperature of a certain amount of water by a degree, okay? It means nothing to you. You're like, that's a banana. What are you talking about, right? And people like to argue that like calories are not all equal. Like some calories don't count and some calories do. If it comes from something organic, like those calories they don't matter as much because they're organic. There we go. Like literally.
I like that one.
Yeah, like whoa. Or like, yeah.
Calories don't count on Sunday, I heard.
Yeah, something like that. But they are truly all equal. But the foods that contain those calories are not all equal. And this is something I will say, it's like, a mile is a mile. But a mile going uphill versus a mile running downhill, which one are you going to prefer if you're trying to take the easy road? You want to go downhill, right? And same thing goes with food. There are certain foods that have 100 calories from this food and 100 calories from this food. They're the same 100 calories, but if I eat them from a broccoli, right, I get to eat this much broccoli. And if I eat it from like olive oil, I get to have like a lick of olive oil. And is olive oil bad for you? No, it's not bad for you. It's great for you, right? But it can get overboard real quick. Your little drizzle in the pan was probably 250 calories. And that's not bad because you all need energy to survive. But it can add up quickly and it can put you into a situation where you're eating more food than your body needs. And then you're what? Going back to the original questions, you're not in a calorie deficit if you're trying to lose fat, because I saw a lot of you raise your hand for that. Question?
If I'm someone that likes to cook with oil, what is a good alternative to achieve less calories per meal?
Why do you like to cook with oil?
Simplicity, it's fast, easy, gets the job done super fast, and tastes great.
Keeps things from sticking.
Yeah, keeps things from sticking, yeah.
Okay. If you want to go with a stick factor, get non-stick appliances and buy cooking spray, and be mindful that even cooking spray is oil. So if you spray for 15 seconds, you basically just drizzled olive oil into your pan. If you spray for the recommended half a second, then you've probably added about 1 gram of oil, which is less than a cup, like a couple calories. If it's for convenience or speed of cooking, a microwave is a lot faster, I promise you. It's like you start to ask the question, like, why am I doing it? And if I have a goal of trying to limit the amount of energy that I'm taking in, then just be like measurable about it. It's like, okay, well, put a table, like weigh out a tablespoon. What does a tablespoon in your pan look like? You know, that's, a tablespoon is roughly, 120 calories, okay? Or a 2-second spray of avocado oil, it's less than a third of that, a quarter of that. And you can get the same effect, and it's quick, and you can use the same cooking, methods, but there are definitely alternatives, and you do have to start thinking about that. I think oil and a couple other foods are sort of, again, they're healthy foods. They have great qualities to them, and I think oil, specifically olive oil, has some like pretty profound health benefits that I would carve out space in my diet to make sure I can fit those into my, required calories. But yeah, they can just add up quickly without people, if you're not paying close attention to how much you're using. All right, one place that you get energy from, calories in, is your food. And then the 4 places that energy or you burn calories is through basal metabolism, non-exercise activity, digestion, and then actual trained exercise. So when you come here, that's your exercise. And you can see that even on a good day, even here at F45 when you're crushing it, your training impact of your exercise is not even a quarter of most of your total energy burned in a day, okay? You're here to get fit, improve your cardiovascular health and your strength. These are important metrics for health, longevity, and well-being. You are not here just to burn calories. And if you are, it's a good time to start changing your mindset, because look where most of your energy is burned in the day. It's burned at rest. Basal metabolism is lay on a bed, don't do anything all day. That's how many calories you burn. And look at how much of that pie chart is your basal metabolism. All right? Now, some of you have a very low basal metabolism because you don't have a lot of muscle mass. So you're also here at the gym to build muscle so that you can grow that part of the pie chart. How much do you want this whole thing to be? Do you want it to be a lot or a little? A lot. What if just to like sustain your life, you needed 5,000 calories? Would that be just like the biggest win? You could eat 4,000 calories a day and you would lose like 2 pounds a week. Wouldn't that be awesome? So your goal with everything that you're doing is to maximize what this pie chart looks like for you. Basal metabolism, how are we going to get that up? We're going to build muscle, okay? What are we going to do for our training? We're going to train as much as we can, but realistically, anybody got more than 45 minutes a day to really get after it? Not that many of you. That's why you're here. If you had 8 hours a day to get on your bike and go ride through the Pyrenees, maybe you could really crank that up, but that's not the life that we're living. This one, this is bigger than that. Look at that. Non-exercise activity. This is any movements that you're doing. I just saw somebody go like this, wipe their brow, wiggle their foot, right? You're fidgeting. Yeah, anything. You need to burn calories to do that. So this is being more active, having more energy, and like moving around, being less sedentary. This is good. I like to think about this as walking steps during the day. When I'm coaching people, I think it's important that you be objective about how many steps you get a day. It's one of the only things next to tracking your food and making sure you're lifting heavier weights each time you come to the gym, or at least over time, that I really care about. Track your food, get your steps, and progressively overload your training in the gym. Your non-exercise activity is a huge lever that you can pull. You have way more hours in the day that are spent outside the gym that you could be looking for opportunities to move. Set a timer on your watch every 50 minutes, get up, go for a 5-minute walk. Park on the other side of the road when you come to F45. Walk across the street, walk back. Simple. You do 5 to 10 of those behaviors a day. You just increased your step count by 4,000 steps a day. That is equal to about a half a pound of body fat per week if you change nothing else. But you guys are changing other things. You're changing nutrition, so let's keep going. All right, anything else on this? Oh, the TEF, thermic effect of food, that is your digestion. It takes energy to digest food. I'm going to talk about protein in a minute. It takes more energy to digest protein. Also a good reason to eat more protein because it helps you build muscle and it helps you burn more calories. Shall we? Next one. All right. So how all diets really work. They restrict your calories. I got a question before this. This diet, what about this diet, what about this diet, what about this diet? I tried this one, it worked for a little bit, and then I tried this one, it worked for a little bit, and then it stopped working. All diets work while they keep you in a restricted calorie state. All right? Name any diet out there. It's doing it by either restricting the amount of food that you eat. You count your calories. That's why the diet's working. It restricts the amount of time that you have to eat the food. You get to eat from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. You got a window. You're doing intermittent fasting. You restrict the time, you can get less calories in that time, you start to lose weight. Or it restricts food groups. I'm gluten-free. I went gluten-free, I lost 10 pounds, but then I put it back on. Well, you lost 10 pounds because you took out gluten and you had about 500 calories of gluten in your diet from gluten foods. You took them out and you didn't replace them with anything. Great, you just went into a 500 calorie per day deficit, which lost you a pound of fat per week, and you did that for 4, 5, 6 weeks, and you crushed it. And then you found out that there's gluten-free bread. And you started eating gluten-free bread. And the weight came back on. You're like, what the hell? Like, oh, you found a way to get the calories back into your diet. Look at that. So I don't care which diet you choose. I'm not a fan, I'm not against or for intermittent fasting. If it works for you on a fat loss diet to restrict your calories using intermittent fasting and it feels easy, I just skip breakfast and it's all good. Then I'm all for it. If keto works for you, great. If paleo works for you, wonderful. If going vegan works for you, also wonderful. As another example, if somebody says, I went vegan and I lost a bunch of weight, they removed a bunch of foods that were in their diet before and they didn't replace them with high calorie foods. Just another way of calorie restricting. So, yes?
Just going back to the gluten stuff.
Yes.
Is there any particular, wheat or sourdough, if you're not going to eat bread, you're going to limit the amount of bread because the calories.
Sure.
But is there any particular type of bread
that I prefer? There are people that have sensitivities to gluten, so I didn't mean to say that like it's nonsense. It is. It's certainly a thing. I was gluten-free for a decade. I convinced myself that this doesn't work for me. But in hindsight, it was very much it was like an over-optimization type of thing. I was like, well, gluten has these proteins in it. Gluten's a protein that people are sensitive to. They can't digest and break down well. So like, I don't want to cause more inflammation to myself, and I'm trying to recover as an athlete, and I'm sensitive to it. And man, it made ordering at restaurants for a decade, problematic. But anyhow, some people have true allergies, and they have real breakouts. They break out their skin. They have gut irritation, diarrhea, bloatedness for a week, and some people are clinically allergic. So, but with that said, if you digest gluten well and bread works for you, then just know that bread comes with calories, and can you pick a bread that has lower calories than another? Sure. You start by reading labels. You look at the label, it's like one slice of this bread has 130 calories, one slice of this bread has 70. Okay, well, I'm trying to make food swaps right now so that I can keep eating the things that I like, but I want to lose some weight, so that's a great food swap. And it's not one thing over the other. Somebody's going to say sourdough bread's the best because the gluten's already pre-digested. Great. If you like that, and if it works for you, and if it fits within what you're trying to accomplish when it comes to like your total energy consumption, calorie consumption, then great. I love sourdough bread. It's delicious. It's also a food that is very easy for me to overeat. So if I'm in a fat loss focused phase, it might be something I limit. But again, I'm not here to guide you on your specific choices. What I will get to is that the last point here in a second, I'll address that. we subscribe to a volume eating approach when it comes to fat loss. So volume eating is a buzzword on the interwebs these days, but basically it's the broccoli olive oil example, okay? What foods can you eat that are highly voluminous, whatever the word is, right? They take up a lot of space, they don't have a lot of calories. And every really food group, you can kind of stratify foods within that group from highest volume, lowest calorie, to lowest volume, highest calorie. Like chicken breast, even like egg whites, shrimp, things like that. On the lower end of the spectrum would be like a very fatty, like Wagyu, you know, like ribeye, okay? Like an ounce of that is going to be equivalent to like 6 ounces or 7 ounces of chicken breast. And why do I subscribe to this? Because we all have, when you eat foods in higher volume that stretch your stomach, also foods in higher volume take longer to consume, and they digest a bit more slowly. All of these things help you win the game against overeating, because we live in an obesogenic culture. Everything about our culture is set up for everybody to overconsume. Everybody. It is the access to foods that are highly, highly palatable, massive amounts of calories in them, and they're so convenient. At almost any given time, within 300 yards of you, wherever you are, there is tens of thousands of calories that are delicious that you can go get your hands on for cheap, okay? And if you have a phone, it is a click away, all right? So we need to be eating foods that when we consume them, they fill us up without a ton of calories. And if they can fill us up with with high volume, high fiber, this is good. On the other side, I subscribe to flexible dieting. Flexible dieting is not just, it's actually a trademark term around, there's a book out about this, but it's basically saying, it's like 80-20 rule. It's like, but it's more than just like, I'm gonna be good sometimes and bad other times. It's like, everything is good when it's done in a way that helps move you towards your goal. Before I just came down here, I had a nice big salad with some meat, some potatoes, and Reese's peanut butter puffs on the side as a little snacky, okay? And that to me is something I think is delicious and was around my house because we have kids and that was just there. This is the food that I know is aligned with my goals and also feels good to eat, and I make it taste really good for me. A bowl or 10 bowls of Reese's peanut butter puffs would be much more delicious than this. But I have a little bit of foods like that every single day because I have lived the life of 100% restriction, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We're not robots. None of you are going to do it forever. If you say, I'm not eating gluten ever again, no more bread because that's bad for me and it makes me fat, then I will just start counting the days until I know you're going to have a big old binge fest on some bread. And then you're going to have that big binge fest and you're going to be in shame and you're going to feel guilty. You're going to fucking hate yourself and you're like, tomorrow's the next day. I'm never going to have bread again. And then it's another 3 months until it happens again. It's learning how you can approach food in a way by being measurable about what you're doing, by following rules that put you when you need to be in a calorie deficit and have enough protein and that you can do consistently over time, and include foods like this along the way that make you realize, yeah, I don't have to like say no to anything for the rest of my life, because that's a tragedy and it's really messed up a lot of people. And that's what diet culture has taught people over and over and tries to continue to tell people, and it's just not true. Okay, all about macronutrients. Protein is the only one that really matters. We need to make sure you're getting your adequate amount of protein per day to help sustain and help you build and recover muscle tissue. That's what you're trying to do with it. Protein serves a lot of other important functions in your body to build, enzymes and other really important cellular mechanisms. Told you I wasn't going to go into that. But for us, it's building our muscle, helping us recover. It's also helping us stay satisfied, satiated, not eat more. If you don't eat enough protein, you're likely going to have more cravings. This has been proven time and time again. And a new study that just came out this year shows that people that eat more of their protein earlier in the day, like for breakfast and lunch, rather than for dinner, actually have better lean body composition, skeletal muscle mass. So skeletal muscle indexes. So people that are leaner eat protein earlier in the day. I've been on a kick for the last year on social media promoting get 50 grams of protein for breakfast, get 50 grams of protein for breakfast. Someone's like, oh my gosh, that's so hard. I'm like, get 50 grams of protein for breakfast, keep doing it. And then the study comes out and it's like, oh yeah, I mean, I didn't go based off, I wasn't like a blind, like, I'm gonna try this out. Like, it's data supports it for a long time, but it's vital. Carbs. Carbs don't make you fat. They just don't. What makes you fat? Eating too many calories. Eating too many calories from anything. You could be 100% protein and still gain weight. It would be much harder for other reasons, but it doesn't matter where the calories come from. If you eat more than what your body needs, you will gain weight. Now, people will demonize carbs because yell out a few carb sources that you all know of that are bad. Pasta. Okay. All right, great, beautiful. So I heard pasta, bread, pizza. Did someone say ice cream? Let's just throw that in there. It's a carb, right? So those foods that I mentioned are highly calorically dense. A plate of pasta at a restaurant, a pizza, ice cream. So these foods that have carbs in them that people are like, oh, carbs are bad. It's like, yeah, well, it's very easy to overeat calories when you eat foods that are often thought of as having carbs in them. But you know what else has carbs in it? Broccoli, bananas, apples, blueberries, raspberries. These things do not make you fat. And I would challenge anybody to go out and eat so much fruit that they gain a bunch of weight. Nobody's getting obese from eating apples. It's not happening, okay? Pizza, sure. Both carbs, which makes you fat? The one that has more calories in it. So carbs don't make you fat, and in fact, there's a list of the 10 most satiating foods, the 10 foods that when studied on an index, which foods fill you up the most? 2 of them are protein. 8 of them are carbohydrates. 8 of the most filling foods on the planet are carbs, which the number 1 is what? Pizza. God, I wish that was true. Potatoes. Potatoes are the number 1 most satiating food on the planet, okay?
Especially fried.
And satisfying. Boiled potatoes is what the test was done with, not French fries. I wish that was the case. And last but not least, carbs are required for energy and performance. You need them. You need them to come in here to train hard so that you can build muscle and improve your cardiovascular health. If you don't eat carbs, you come to the gym, you have a poor performance, you did not stress your muscle tissue enough to actually grow. That's not ideal because muscle is going to build our basal metabolism, make us burn more energy at rest, give us longevity, give us functional lives. Question.
So, do you have a suggestion for how much carbohydrate you should have before you work out?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Because that's sort of, for me, I've been sort of anti-carb for so long. So when I'm told to eat carbs before working out, it's really hard for me.
You grab 3 blueberries and you're like, I did it. I win.
And I don't know.
Yes.
So I would love to know what a good amount of carbs is to eat before you work out. One trainer told me, oh, eat rice I thought, oh gosh, I don't know if I can do that.
You've seen like the Rice Krispie treat thing on viral Rice Krispie treats, the best pre-workout that there is, because it has carbs and like some salt in it. Well, sugar, carbs, all the same, right? So, yeah, that like getting into like specific numbers, I would say maybe a good number to shoot for is like 1/3 to a half of your body weight in grams of carbohydrates. So I'm 185 pounds. I'd have maybe 90 grams of carbs pre-workout. The timing of that, it's like anywhere from like an hour to 90 minutes before, because by that time I get to the gym, that's circulating like glucose in my blood stream, which I can start to help like load into muscle tissue, replenish glycogen, or use right away as fuel. So 130 pounds, I'm gonna have 65 grams of carbs. What does that look like? That's like maybe like a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of oatmeal, like uncooked oatmeal. So pour that in, then cook it. It's about with some like berries or like a half a piece of fruit. And it's a good idea pre-workout if you're gonna try and do like if you're gonna try and time your carbs correctly, you wanna do like something that's starchy and something that's got like a piece of fruit and like oatmeal and a piece of fruit, or toast and a piece of fruit, or a potato and a piece of fruit, because they have different types of sugars in them and they just absorb differently. You don't need to like concern yourself with it. Just like have a kiwi, have a little bowl of oatmeal, have some protein, ideally too. It's not just carbs. Protein's about half of what you're getting like if you're getting 70 grams of carbs, and just cut that in half, and that's about how much protein you want to have. That's a great pre-workout meal. And if you can time it where it's like that's just your breakfast and then you go train, and then you have lunch a little bit later, that's a win. Question?
Is it like essential and necessary to eat before you work out?
No, it is not.
It's okay to like go on an empty stomach and eat first thing in the morning?
Yeah, it is. It's totally okay. Is it optimal? No. But it's good, right? And I will say, like, there are things that are optimal, and then there's you come in here consistently, you're crushing your workouts, you're hitting your daily nutrition requirements, you're getting enough protein, you're kind of staying in your calorie range, you're winning. You're going to lose body fat. You're going to be A-okay. If you get to a point 6 months from now where you're like, I'm loving my body, but I want to like up my workouts, I want to up my intensity, I'll be like, okay, well, what are you eating right before you come in? You're like, I haven't eaten anything since dinner last night. Like, okay, well, why don't we try a little something? Like drink a Gatorade on the way to the gym. Get some like whatever carb source would be like quick to get into your body. But it's not the thing that you need to focus on at the beginning. Nutrient timing, I used to think was very important. You got to nail the timing. You got to get, it's at the 30-minute window after I work out. I got to go and get some protein. Otherwise, why did I even go to the gym? A lot of people like to talk about that stuff. It is absolutely a low priority thing to be thinking about for everybody in this room. Yes?
When you go to the grocery store and you look at the ingredients of that, sugar is everywhere.
Yep.
Sugar is supposed to be a bad, evil thing. So can you talk about sugars?
Sure, yeah. This is where I can get going a little bit on the old science rant. So stop me if I do, if I say anything like, I don't even know. But sugar is, carbohydrates they're all sugar. Okay, so sugar is just refers to the smallest, molecular breakdown product of all carbohydrates. You're either dealing with glucose or fructose. There's lactose as well, but those are the three sugars that we're consuming. And sugar generally is not something that you should be afraid of. Just like carbs, you shouldn't be afraid of them for making you fat. They're not killing you. Overconsumption has a lot more to do with most of the chronic illnesses that you see. We're meant to, I think the conversation around paying attention to sugars is that when manufacturers are producing and processing foods to make them more convenient or palatable to you, they use sugar and fat to make them more delicious. And when I'm eating a piece of bread, which if made like from scratch, most bread recipes don't call for sugar. It's wheat, water, right? Flour and water, maybe a little salt. But they do that, and then they're like, let's pump in some more sugar to make it taste good, which is great because it tastes good. But it's also like extra energy that we don't need to be consuming. And so looking at labels and reading, is there added sugar in this? I think that's a good thing. Just because it's like, if there's two options, and this one has 10 grams of added sugar and this one has no grams of added sugar, there's a good likelihood that they have carbs in them, you know, by themselves. But it's like, if I can avoid the extra 10 grams, like, why not, you know? Unless you're like, I'm craving this one, I really want this one, then have it. That sugar's not the thing that's gonna, you know, make everything go wrong. And as a matter of fact, if you're training hard, like, sugars are good for you. And this is a very different conversation that I had 10 years ago in my gyms when I was giving this talk. I'd be like, stay away from sugar, it's the devil. Now, if you're overweight, obese, have insulin resistance already, if you have prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, of course, if you're type 1 diabetic, any type 1 diabetics in the room no? All right. Then yeah, sugar should be something that you're very mindful of because you have already, because of pre-existing health conditions and where you're at, you don't have the best way of dealing with sugar in your own body at the moment. But almost everything I just said, apart from type 1 diabetes, is all reversible, and at some point in the future, you could be a very good metabolizer of sugar. Was that helpful?
Yes.
It was?
Yeah.
Great.
Marcus, your first slide talked about adequate protein. What is adequate?
Adequate protein. This was
Number of grams.
the number of grams. Yeah, so who's heard any, throw out a recommendation that you've been told about how much protein you're supposed to have a day.
1 gram per
Half?
1 gram per body per pound.
Whole body weight, half your body weight, 1.25 per pound of body weight. Okay, so there's lots out there, right? There is the recommended daily allowance, like by the Food and Drug Administration, that is a gross underestimation of what most of the healthy population needs to be having. Then there was the bodybuilding community that was like, let's just go up here and we'll just say 1 gram per pound of body weight. So you weigh 200 pounds, you're gonna eat 200 grams of protein, okay? And then some meatheads were like, let's go and push it a little bit because I'm big and I wanna be bigger. So we'll go 300 grams, we'll do 1.5. We'll just keep pushing the thing over to this side. There's really not, you have no issue from a health perspective if you have good functioning kidneys of going high, okay? If you eat more protein, not a big deal. Matter of fact, there's some benefits to it if you're on a fat loss kick in that it can be a little bit more satiating or it can require a little bit more energy to digest. But protein's expensive and it's unnecessary because what we really wanted to find out, and this is what all the research should have been focused on years ago, but they didn't know, is that they wanted to figure out what's the amount of protein that helps me maximize my ability to build muscle. Because that's why people were starting to talk about eating protein. How much protein does one need to get the most amount of muscle built? So they were like, okay, we'll do an experiment. We'll give people this much. And we'll give this group this much. And we'll give this group this much. And they did it all, they stratified it all. And what they found was once you got past this much, you didn't get more muscle protein synthesis or you didn't build more muscle past here. It was all about the same. Was this harmful? No. It was just a waste if that was your goal, was to build more muscle, which is why we eat protein, is to maintain our lean tissue and build muscle. Everyone in this room, okay? So where did that number stop? It wasn't at 1 gram per pound of body weight. It was actually less than that. It was more like 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. Now, who wants to do that math real quick? No. So what's a good number? 1. It just was easy. If you try and hit 1 gram per pound of body weight, you're going to get to the number that's maximizing your muscle building potential. and it's an easier number to remember, and it's usually a number that most people can't get to, so they're like, ah, damn it, I didn't get there. They're still in the window, but they're trying. It's like you try to walk 10,000 steps today, but you only got 8,000. You're like, I didn't get to the 10, but you got 8. It's a win. You know, that's good. Question.
So for anybody that's new and doesn't know anything about supplementation, like protein,
Yep.
Protein, that kind of stuff, what should they be actually drinking protein shakes after their workouts in order to get that number to where it's supposed to be? Can they supplement with just protein shakes and not eat any protein throughout the day?
Yeah.
Just only protein shakes? What does that look like?
Great. Now we're talking practical stuff here. How do you get that much protein in? Who's got a number in their mind? They're like, I don't know how to get this much protein today. We can talk through it.
180 grams.
180 grams? You weigh 180? 190? Okay, so perfect. So how do you get 180 grams of protein a day? That's 4 meals of 45 grams of protein. Does that feel, is it hard for you to get that much in? It is? Impossible. Impossible.
Can't eat that much.
Can't eat that much food.
Jeff's helped me out quite a bit.
Jeff says eat more calories.
There's a lot of hacks I have.
Even with cutting.
So guess what? 180 grams of protein is how many calories?
Times 4.
That's right. 720.
Okay.
720 calories is all that 180 grams of protein is. Anybody eating less than 720 calories a day? No. So you all can eat that much food. You can get that much energy in. Your body will crave it. You have to prioritize protein at every single meal. And it has to start earlier in the day. And this is one of the things that I was just talking about, is that most people in the standard diet is I'll wake up and I'll have a little thing of yogurt. I'll wake up and I'll have an egg or two. I'll wake up and I'll have a little protein shake, 20 grams of protein. On your way to 180, that is a big mistake. Most people are eating little to no protein in the morning, a smallish amount of protein at lunch because they're trying to be sensible. They get to the dinner, and that's where they're going to try and, how the hell do I get in 180 grams, Marcus? This is nuts. It's like, have 50 grams of protein at breakfast, and guess what? You're more than like a quarter of the way there. You're like 30, 40% of the way there.
And it can be like a shake, a yogurt.
It could be a combo of all that.
Chicken.
My favorite is, no, literally, take, I shop at Costco, the non-fat Greek yogurt, roughly this big. You take 2 cups of that out, and you put in something that's like really deliciously flavorful, like a Crystal Light
Reese's peanut butter.
0 sugar sweetener packet or something like that, or find something, just mix it up. It tastes like Yoplait. That's, guess what? That's 50 grams of protein done. Yeah, no, and you're not trying to get to 180 grams of protein either. If you're trying to get to 100 grams of protein a day, then you eat 1 cup of Greek yogurt. And then maybe after your workout, you have a protein shake. And then for lunch, you have 6 ounces of chicken breast. And for dinner, you have another 6-ounce piece of protein. And guess what? Potatoes have some protein in it. Vegetables have some protein in it. Plant-based protein from all these other sources. Let's say you have a cup of beans with your lunch because you want to get fiber and you care about your gut health. So you eat some beans. That's got some protein in it as well. The best way to figure this out is to track your food and actually start to see where your protein is coming from. It's out there to be had. And as somebody who has not eaten less than 200 grams of protein for probably a decade and a half, every single day, I'm like, it's out there. It's not that hard to get. But you have to actually be paying attention to where these sources are and asking the question, oh man, it's hard to get this in. Wait, for breakfast I only had 12 grams. What's a food swap that I could make that could be higher in protein? Oh, if I just took that out and put this in, I actually like that food. Whoa, that just doubled my protein. Holy. This happens with almost every single one of my coaching clients when we start to get them to pay attention to what they're eating and actually looking at labels and tracking food in a tracking app like MyFitnessPal or MacroFactor or Chronometer or one of the many that are out there that are free. And you can start to teach yourself these things. Because I hope I've made a case for why some of these nutrients are very important to get, because they're going to help you in the long run win the game of I can eat what I want to eat and maintain the body that I want.
So my stress factor with the challenge is with the coaching saying getting more calories, because you have to have more calories so that you can burn calories and stuff. But then we're also supposed to be in a calorie deficit.
True.
So how do you figure out, like, to get all this protein, that's going to up my calories like a ton from what I'm eating now.
It might.
But
yeah, no, this is.
They both seem counterintuitive. Like,
Yeah. Have you? This is a great question. So, I don't. Most coaches, when they say you need to eat more, they don't actually mean you need to go into a calorie surplus. Mm-hmm. They say they want you to eat more because most of our psychology, because of the culture that we've been all surrounded by for so long, is less and less and less and less and less. Okay, so if you've ever said to yourself, well, I don't eat that much, but I'm not losing weight, then we're not in a calorie deficit, but you eat a little bit of food. So that's like, I went to, remember the food volume thing that I was talking about? I'm just going to draw some shapes up here. These mean nothing, okay? But these foods that you eat that are very small add up to 1,700 calories per day, because you chose high energy, low volume foods. So you feel, I don't eat a lot, but I get a lot of, so this is one scenario. The other scenario is you really don't, like, here's the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way down. Here are your days. We got 7 of them. You're really good. This is how many calories you had here, calories you had there. You're really good at keeping your calories low on all these days, but on the weekend, you go out and you have the drinks. You're like, fuck it, I'll have the chips. Bring another bag of the chips. Get the guac. I know we're all laughing, but this is real. No, this gets me here because you work so fucking hard to do this, and you're like, I'm killing myself. I don't eat anything. Look at me. I'm just like, I'm barely doing anything, and forget that number. Like, and then this is enough, truly enough, to ruin your progress and keep you just in maintenance for a long time. And what your psychology says is, I don't eat very much. I really don't eat that much. And so your coach is saying, you got to eat more every day so that when you get to the weekend, you don't say, fuck it. And this right there is enough to get you in a calorie deficit, because it's not about day to day, it's about weekly averages, and you are now winning and you can do it sustainably. So this is one reason why coaches will teach you that. The other reason was up here, where it's like, I don't eat a lot. I'm not eating a lot, but it's actually really dense things. It's like, I had the organic muffin at Pete's, which was like a 500 calorie bomb. No joke. I used to work at Pete's, okay? Stuff is lethal. No. And then you got a mocha, a large one, and that was like 240 calories. So you're at 740 just to start your day. And is that a lot of food? No, that's not. I mean, it's delicious, but it's not filling you up in a meaningful way. And there's fuck all protein in that. So you got nothing there. Now you're back to what I was talking about before. So this is like, I'm not eating very much stuff, but I'm not losing weight. Because in your mind, it's not that much. So they're going to teach you to eat more. They're going to teach you to eat something that's like this, and like this, and like this. But all those high volume foods are only going to be 1,500 calories. You're going to be like, I'm eating the most food I've ever eaten in my life, and I'm losing weight. Imagine that. And that is something that I have so many of my clients say. They're like, this is wild. how is this possible? Well, we just upped your protein. We got you eating more fruits and vegetables. We, got high fiber foods in there. We built your plates the right way. And you're like, I'm full. Like I can't even eat anymore, and I'm losing weight. But you're not having Reese's Puffs, 4 or 5 bowls of them, but you're having a little bit of them right over here. Yeah. What's a more fun shape? What's a Reese's Pieces? A star. You got a little Reese's Pieces right here. Question.
Does age come in as any sort of factor here?
It does.
Sorry, guys.
It does. No. I knew this question was going to come. It's like I'm getting older. Things seem to be changing. I can't change my body the way I used to. And if I go back to this other slide where it was like, the metabolism slide, did you see anything up here that had anything to do with age? No. Basal metabolism is a factor of skeletal muscle. And what do we know as we age is that skeletal muscle decreases with age on average amongst the population. What do most people, as they age, what are they doing? Generally not going to F45, so you're winning already. They're generally sitting more, being less active, and their hormones that support skeletal muscle are also declining with age. So testosterone is lowering. Male and female testosterone is lowering. So for those reasons, you start to lose muscle mass, which is going to affect this. Not by like hundreds of calories per day, but by a margin that would add up over time. Also, for many people, this starts to pop up in their brain when they are in that 30 to 45 age range. Many people are like, wow, my body's changing. Everything seems different than when I was in my 20s. Because 20s, not a lot of responsibilities in life, generally not, don't have kids yet, don't have anything to like tie you down. I can just be free and do my thing. And when you're out doing your thing and you're free, you move a lot more, you're able to not be stressed out, you can get better sleep, you can do all these things that actually end up impacting your total energy in, energy out, calories in, calories out equation. You get into that 30, 40 range, got a lot of responsibilities, career, kids, family, all kinds of things to stress you out. You stop moving as much. I see parents just sitting on the sidelines watching their kids run around and they're just sitting there, and I'm just like, why are we not all walking around the track right now watching the game from like a walking position? So those are the things that age starts to impact. There's also, I don't recover as well as I age. This is a real thing. This is partly hormonal, but mostly everyone will just say, like, I'm not as chipper. Like, I don't have, I can't wake up after an F45 class in my 60s as well as I did when I was in my 40s, So when you're not recovering as well, you might not be able to train as intensely or bring as much or train as frequently or move as frequently. So that becomes potentially an impacting thing. But it always comes back to general, I'm moving more, I have more muscle mass, and then as I age, generally, people are moving less, and they're not having as much muscle mass. And those are generally the biggest impacts that happen there. There's also lifestyle factors. When I was in my 20s, I didn't have a lot of money. I ate pretty simple. I lived a pretty simple life. Later on, get some money, go out to nice dinners, having a little bit more of the drinks. There's indulgences that you can now have because you're a little bit more established in life, and you're like, I work hard, I want to play. Okay, all those things happen, but there's nothing written into like your genetic code and your age, chronological age. That's like at 50, you get fat. Like, it's still the same. Yeah. I sure. There we go. More questions?
So, for the folks that are still looking at that chart down there and intimidated by the fact that they're not going to be able to decompress on the weekend, what are good options for those folks that still want to decompress on the weekend but want to maintain their calories at a good, stable spot?
What can we drink?
What can we drink?
Right.
Again, this is like, it's, the answer lies in the numbers, to be perfectly honest with you. If you want to indulge, then you have to make a sacrifice somewhere else. You also have to recognize that if I indulge on alcohol or on foods that are highly palatable, sugary, like, they give you that dopamine hit in your brain, there's a good likelihood that you're going to make subsequent poor decisions afterwards. This is another big thing. It's like, hey, I deserve to go out and drink. You sure do, but you don't get to walk out of the restaurant or the bar and then just be like, God, I want to go get like a fucking burrito right now. And you just crush a burrito because you're just feeling that at night. You can do that, but it's like, don't blame it's not the alcohol, the drink that it's like, it's the whole combination of the whole thing. So when I say it's in the numbers, tracking your food and being honest about it, it's like, I'm going to go out and I want to have pizza tonight. Okay, well, remember, it's not a daily thing. I've got a week average, let's say I'm trying to hit 1,800 calories per day, every day for the whole week. Oh man, I should have picked a better number. That is 7,000, that's what, 12,560 maybe? I don't know. Let's just say that's I'm probably off. Let's say that's my total calories for the week. Let's just throw another number up there so I know that I'm just not even trying. 15,000 calories for the whole week is my goal, okay? The pizza that I'm gonna have, and I'm gonna eat the whole thing because I don't like to eat half of a pizza. I'm gonna get a little small personal pizza, and that thing is 1,000 calories. Easy, all right? But I wanna have pizza this week. So guess what? I still have 14,560 calories left in my week to disperse amongst 7 days. Do the math on that. What is it gonna take to eat in a calorie deficit for the whole week and still have my indulgence? You start to think about it in that way and plan for it. And you're not gonna be doing back of the napkin math in the restaurant, be like, how am I gonna fit this in, right? But if you start to do this tracking of your food and looking at what you're actually consuming, you can find places where you're like, okay, generally this is what I eat most days, and then that gives me a budget to have this on the weekend. And the same thing goes for alcohol. When you want to budget in alcohol, budget it in. This drink has 150 calories, this drink has 50 calories. I'm going for the drunkenness, I want the effects of the alcohol, or I love the taste of the drink. It's totally up to you. What do you want? And then it has to be budgeted into what your goals are.
You double up on F45 classes too.
You can do that. I would highly discourage you from trying to outmove added calories. This is a very slippery slope that works for no one. It just doesn't work, because you'll start to move more, and then you'll try and because you ate more, and it's it turns into this reward, then this is my punishment, and this is it's a very vicious psychological cycle to get into. Plus, you start pushing yourself in ways that your body maybe can't recover from. This becomes not an option. You haven't changed your patterns over here. Next thing you know, you're like, whoa, I'm overdoing it. I'm recognizing the time people are getting up. It's already 8 o'clock. You guys have been such an attentive, focused audience. I didn't even get through all my slides, but I don't care because I think we answered some good questions. I will stay for a few extra minutes for sure and answer any other questions that you have, so long as you don't ask me one that takes 20 minutes to answer. But that's on me. But I will take, if you guys have to get up and leave, this is your permission to leave and feel like you're not.
Two more quick ones?
Two more, yeah, let's do it.
Can you talk about some of your favorite protein options besides chicken?
Sure, yeah.
Greek yogurt.
Other than Greek yogurt?
He has a new ebook, Persist with Protein, that has all of this type of content, right? Okay.
This is true, yeah. We did make it a digital product ebook that is called Persist with Protein, which you can certainly find on my website. I am personally a fan of really any meat that's lean, just because I don't subscribe to the idea that you need to fats are healthy, absolutely. But fats, most of us generally get enough fat from the protein sources that we eat, some of the plant foods that we eat. The need to supplement with more fat in the diet, I used to eat a bunch of nut butter and added olive oil to everything because like I need healthy fats. And then I'm like starting to really pay attention. I'm like, why am I don't need 200 grams of fat a day. Like this is just, it's excessive. So I go for lean proteins, lean meats. There's like very lean ground beef I love. I love skinless chicken breast, chicken thighs, whatever. Again, I'm not afraid of skin. I just recognize how much energy is in a, rotisserie chicken with all the skin on it. Low-fat or non-fat dairy options are my go-to. So yogurts, cottage cheese. You can get like high-protein milk, like Fairlife milks have generally like a high amount of protein in it. I put protein, like supplemental protein in oatmeal, so I have like overnight oats with it. And then I eat a decent amount of legumes or beans. They have a fair amount of protein in, although it's not a protein source. It's a side dish of carbohydrates that has protein in it. And again, I do eat a lot of calories each day, which helps me reach some of these protein goals. But even when I've been on lower calorie, like fat loss diets, getting 200 to 250 grams of protein a day from those types of sources is it's very manageable. I also make ice cream on my Ninja Creamy every single day, and I eat an entire pint of Ninja Creamy ice cream, which is high protein, 40 grams of protein, under 300 calories for a whole pint of this stuff. And if you haven't checked out my Instagram story, you need to, because I have a blog that is dedicated to the Ninja Creamy. It's one of the best inventions that the Ninja brand ever came up with. Small plug, I am not affiliated with them. Wish I got some commissions, but I don't.
So I recently discovered on this bottle of amino acids that I take.
Yes.
It has a little scale. And it
Okay.
says that 5 pills equals 29 grams of protein. And
Did you ask the amino acid? Oh, great. Let me answer that.
so I was like, what? I can take this and this equates to protein? And I didn't understand that. So is that true?
The way that they're equating that is that when you take amino acid pills, and generally they come in the form of branched chain amino acids, that's the common supplementation. You'll start seeing essential amino acids also as supplementation. And this used to be like touted as like this really great sports performance supplement that you could take to help build muscle. And what they found was that eating, as long as you're eating an adequate amount of protein each day, what the ranges that I talked about, that supplementing amino acids did nothing. There's no benefit. For people who really struggle to get in protein, and when I say struggle, I don't just mean like those of you who are like, how do I get this much protein in? You haven't investigated it yet enough to say that. But somebody who's like, I'm vegan and I choose to not eat animal protein, or people that do long extended fasting periods and they like to go train on 10, 12, 14 hours of fasting, there may be some benefit to those individuals supplementing with branched chain amino acids or essential amino acids. In order to turn on this protein building engine of your muscle, like the metabolic pathway that turns it on, you need to get a certain threshold of protein for it to wake up. There's a certain amino acid that when you get it in enough of a quantity, it turns that machinery on. It's called leucine. It's one of the branched chain amino acids. So if you look at BCAA supplements, leucine is the one that's the highest in concentration because they're going off of research that show when you hit a threshold of 4 grams of leucine per meal, you turn on muscle protein synthesis. That's basically equivalent to eating like 20 grams of protein in a meal. So it's really not a necessity, but it does point to just this importance of getting more protein frequently or at your different meals throughout the day. Don't eat all your protein at one day. It's not terrible if you do that. It's better if you get it a little bit more spaced out, and I believe it will certainly help most of you in your fat loss, weight loss journey, because it'll help you build more muscle, it'll help you feel full, and it'll help make your meals digest a bit slower, which again is just good for like level energy throughout your day. Okay, thank you guys so much.